Austria's high-altitude Spielberg circuit is seeing track temperatures soar past a punishing 50 degrees Celsius, prompting the FIA to issue an official heat hazard warning that has thrown the entire paddock into a state of strategic panic. Yet amid this blistering thermal crisis, Scuderia Ferrari may have weaponized the extreme conditions using a clandestine engineering breakthrough hidden on the rear axle of Lewis Hamilton's SF-26. During Saturday's high-stakes qualifying session, this radical technical innovation remained entirely invisible on the timesheets because it contributes virtually nothing to single-lap aerodynamic performance, meaning rival teams failed to spot its impact until Sunday's grueling long-stint race simulations revealed that while the rest of the grid saw their rear tires literally cooking themselves to pieces, the Ferraris kept their rubber perfectly preserved. This mechanical mystery does not trace its origins to the Austrian hills, but rather to a meticulous reading of a single, overlooked clause buried deep within the sport's massive technical regulations. A rule that completely liberated wheel rim development for the current season by abolishing the restrictive single-supplier mandate that had locked the entire grid into identical frozen component specifications for years. While heavy hitters like Red Bull, McLaren, and Mercedes focused their massive development budgets on highly visible components like intricate underfloor Venturi tunnels, complex front-wing flaps, and aggressive power unit deployment maps, Maranello quietly realized that the humble wheel rim had been transformed from a basic structural part into an unregulated aerodynamic and thermodynamic frontier. Ferrari bypassed European motorsport suppliers to collaborate in total secrecy with their legendary, 3-decade-long technical partner based in the quiet coastal prefecture of Toyama, Japan, the very same master craftsman who forged the ultra-lightweight magnesium wheels that carried Michael Schumacher to his historic era of dominance, tasking them with engineering a highly sophisticated thermal barrier disguised as a standard wheel rim. To comprehend the genius of this design, one must realize that the primary enemy of a modern Pirelli racing tire is not actually the abrasive asphalt or the ambient summer air, but rather the catastrophic heat soak radiating outward from the car's own massive carbon ceramic brake discs, which routinely exceed 1000 degrees C under heavy braking and transfer that thermal energy directly through the wheel hub straight into the tire's internal air cavity. This intense heat causes the internal tire pressures to balloon uncontrollably by up to 3 or 4 pounds per square inch, mutating the tire's contact patch, inducing severe surface graining, and causing lap times to fall off a cliff as drivers desperately slide around on degraded rubber. Ferrari's clandestine solution, which debuted under intense operational security at the scorching Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona, discarded traditional open-spoke architecture entirely in favor of a solid, continuous internal carbon fiber ring that acts as a thermodynamic shield, physically redirecting the destructive brake heat away from the wheel rim body so it vents harmlessly out the back of the car. The Italian team went to extraordinary lengths to conceal this component from rival technical photographers, deliberately turning the rear faces of the wheels away from cameras and exploiting a regulatory loophole that exempts wheel rims from the mandatory FIA upgrades declaration list that teams must publish every Thursday. By the time technical analysts finally captured clear footage of the modification, tire sensor data confirmed a revolution in performance. Where standard cars suffered massive pressure spikes, the SF-26 restricted pressure growth to a rock-solid single pound per square inch, while dropping internal tire carcass temperatures by an astonishing 15 degrees Celsius. In a hyper-competitive sport where teams spend millions of dollars to secure a single tenth of a second, a 15 degrees Celsius reduction in tire core temperature is an absolute game-changer that completely alters the physics of a Grand Prix distance, giving strategic planners on the pit wall the priceless tactical freedom to extend stints, execute aggressive overcuts, or bypass an entire pit stop altogether. Because this thermodynamic advantage only activates after 15 to 20 consecutive laps of intense thermal buildup, it leaves Ferrari's qualifying pace seemingly mediocre, explaining why Hamilton started from the second row rather than pole position in Spain, before unleashing devastating race pace that allowed him to cruise to a dominant 20-second victory as his rivals' tires disintegrated in the 52 degrees C heat. This sudden reversal of fortune has sent shockwaves through the paddock, completely erasing Ferrari's early season weakness in places like Miami and Shanghai, where high track temperatures previously destroyed their rear tires, and it has triggered a frantic, high-stakes development war across the grid as teams realize they have been completely outsmarted. Red Bull Racing is rumored to be rushing an emergency wheel rim iteration to the track this very weekend to mitigate the damage, but because any custom wheel design must undergo a lengthy bureaucratic approval and physical fitment testing process with Pirelli to ensure structural integrity under extreme load, Ferrari enjoys a development head start measured in months rather than days. The rapid escalation of this wheel rim war has raised alarm bells at the FIA, where officials are deeply concerned that a regulation originally modified to save teams money is now triggering an expensive, resource-intensive engineering arms race that threatens to drain vital funds from teams struggling to stay within the strict corporate cost cap boundaries. This technological coup strikes a particularly devastating blow to McLaren, a team that built its entire competitive identity around natural mechanical tire preservation through clever suspension geometry and smooth driver inputs, only to watch Ferrari bypass those years of chassis refinement by simply engineering thermal management directly into the metallurgy of their wheels. The ultimate validation of this technology is unfolding right now in the searing crucible of the Red Bull Ring, a circuit whose punishing layout traditionally penalizes Ferrari due to their current power unit deficit against the class-leading high-power Mercedes engines, making their race day tire management the single critical factor keeping them in contention. While Charles Leclerc has openly admitted that the SF-26 feels sluggish and uncompetitive over a single qualifying lap around the Austrian hills, the team remains quietly confident that as the long Sunday afternoon wear and tear sets in and rival power units are forced to back off to manage their own soaring temperatures, Ferrari's secret weapon will activate. This weekend represents a pivotal turning point in a grueling World Championship campaign that has been largely dominated by a resurgent Mercedes squad, transforming Lewis Hamilton's highly criticized historic career move into a brilliant masterstroke as he hunts down his younger championship-leading teammate. If Hamilton can utilize this Japanese-engineered thermal barrier to execute a longer opening stint, absorb the relentless straight-line attacks of the Mercedes and Red Bull cars, and unleash blistering pace in the final third of the Grand Prix while his rivals are forced to nurse overheating rubber, Ferrari will have proven that titles are not won by the loudest upgrades, but by the quietest engineering secrets hidden in plain sight.